Hi everyone, I'm here with Carly Finlay and Todd Winther, two really fabulous authors who are going to talk about their work, because this is part of the Creative Crip series, the conversation number 2 for the Disinterest Group at USC. We've had some troubles with our face-to-face efforts, so this is so exciting to actually get together, even over Zoom, to record this. So that's it from me. I'm Deborah Fisher and I chair the Disinterest Group. Drop me an email at dfisher.usc.edu.au if you have any questions after you've watched this.
Hello, I'm Carly and I'm here with Todd, and I'm really excited to be part of this discussion. A bit sad that it's not in real life as we had hoped and scheduled for a few times in 2021, but we made it to virtual and that's exciting. I will let Todd introduce himself and then I'll introduce myself.
I'm Todd Winther, proud USC alumni actually. I have 2 degrees at USC. I'm currently living in Brisbane. I'm an NDIS consultant and subject matter specialist in the home and living area of the National Disability Insurance Scheme. I operate as a trainer, as a consultant, and as a writer, along with writing and growing up disabled in Australia, edited by Carly. I have been writing in The Conversation, Fairfax 9 papers, and a series of academic journals, along with the ABC, with the now defunct, unfortunately, disability portal Ramp Up, which Carly also contributed to.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Todd, we met writing probably 12 years ago, maybe?
Yes,
I would say.
a long time ago
Long
now.
time ago now. Yeah, so I'm a writer, a speaker, an arts worker and an appearance activist, and I am based in Melbourne, in Naarm. I'm here on Wurundjeri country and I pay my respects to Aboriginal elders, past, present, and I also like to give a shout out to Aboriginal writers in my acknowledgement of country. So do look up the work of Gail Kennedy, who is an Aboriginal disabled woman, and she's in Growing Up Disabled in Australia, and also Dion Beasley, who is a young Aboriginal man based in Central Australia, and he also is in Growing Up Disabled in Australia. He's an illustrator. My work mostly centres around disability and access and inclusion and representation. And I've written for places like the ABC, SBS, Fairfax Papers. I've also written for CNN, Vogue, which was pretty exciting. And I've written for, most recently, Refinery 29 and the Saturday Paper. So lots of different places, mostly online. I've published my memoir, Say Hello, in 2019, and I've also published Growing Up Disabled in Australia in 2021. And I've been in a few books, anthologies, so Growing Up African in Australia, Growing Up in Australia, most recently the Me Too book, stories about the Me Too movement in Australia, and also Women of a Certain Rage. So I've been in a few anthologies, and the next book I'm writing is a picture book for children. So we've got a few questions today that focus on writing. I'm going to ask the question and we can discuss it. We've got about 20 minutes. So Todd, what has the publication and success of Growing Up Disabled in Australia meant for you?
I think I want to touch on the growing theme of the book, which is that everybody has struggled to come to terms with their disability, whether that be positively or negatively. And also people have been disenfranchised, allowing themselves to have their stories told, both in public and in private. People with disabilities, particularly in the generations before us, were seen as being seen and not heard, basically, and our voices have been continually silenced and oppressed. And I guess the book provided an opportunity for us, both individually and as a collective of authors, to really tell our stories in a positive and safe environment. And a lot of that is a credit to Carly, but also a credit to the other writers and Black Ink, who also helped us publish the book.
Absolutely. There are 46 different stories in the book, and that is 46 perspectives of disability. I think that when non-disabled people meet disabled people or think about disabled people, they think they've met one person and they know everything about disability. And it's really important to see that disability varies even with the same kind of diagnosis. So the experience of disability really varies. The other thing that I wanted to ensure was, and I know that Todd here is a white man, but the book isn't full of white men, because we often see disability represented as white men, and particularly in the media. And so it was really important to me to have a range of people, particularly from First Nations backgrounds, migrant backgrounds, deaf people, trans people, and people who communicate differently and have intellectual disabilities as well, because they're so unheard generally. So we've got people like Dion Beasley, as I mentioned before, who works with Yobel in facilitating stories, and Dion is an illustrator. We've also got Oliver Hunter, who uses a communication device, and he's a great artist as well as a writer, and he just does some really great work around representation for people who communicate differently. And there's also Jane Rosengrave, who is an incredible advocate for people with intellectual disability and who have been in disability institutions. Jane grew up in institutions and endured horrific abuse, and she's won human rights awards for her work in speaking to the Royal Commission around violence in institutional settings a few years ago. And we've got people who didn't identify as disabled until quite recently, like me. We've also got people who maybe don't identify as disabled yet as well. And I think all of those experiences are important. We were due to release the book in 2020, and then COVID happened, and all of our contributors are disabled, and we envisaged that most of our audience will be disabled as well. And so the right thing to do was to put it off until we could have a few in-person get-togethers, which we did last year, which was great. Although the Melbourne book launch, which was just a tiny gathering of contributors, actually got cancelled on the day lockdown was announced. Yet, tennis could still go ahead. So, go figure there. But we did manage to get a few in-person events on, and we've had a lot of online events as well, and they've just been so well received. And I think one of the good things about the book is not only do the authors get to have be paid for their chapters, but it's created meaningful work for people who participate in events like this. An example of that has been with Jane Rosengrave. I've worked with Jane a few times in events, and I've always ensured that she is centred, that her voice is centred, because so often people with intellectual disability aren't expected to work for payment or at all. And last year we did this amazing event in Melbourne. We got to sneak in an event I don't know, between lockdowns 3 and 4 maybe. And I wasn't a speaker in the event, but the City of Melbourne hosted it, and Jacinta Parsons was the MC for was the interviewer. And I was kind of like the producer, so I put it all together, and that was really great experience to see those people on stage. So it was Jane, it was Jacinta, Jacinta's not in the book, but she has a chronic illness herself. It was Astrid Edwards, and it was Jess Knight. And after the event, we all went over to a kebab shop, and we've organised for some contributors to get paid in a different way to invoicing, because invoicing is really complicated. So for someone like Jane, we just want her to be able to ring the publisher, give them her bank details and get paid that way. And she said to me, she calls everyone Dal, and she says, Dal, I'll give you my bank details. What was it? Was it $100? And I said, no, Jane, you're getting paid $550 for this. And she couldn't believe it. She said, what? I've never been paid that much before. Like this money, it's changed her life, just to be valued that much for her lived experience, and it's incredible. And I know I'm really mindful of not seeing other people's stories as sources of inspiration, but I think we can when it's our own people, and knowing that people are getting valuable work opportunities out of this, that's really important to me. And the book also, it went to reprint in the second week of being released. And so not only did we have to contend with the pandemic and having very few events in person, but we had a lot of people criticise the title of the book, particularly non-disabled people telling us that we shouldn't use the word disabled in the book. But then it went to reprint after 2 weeks of being out, which is incredible. So I was really pleased with that. Yeah, so I think that it's been really successful for readers and the contributors in feeling more confident. Eliza Hull, who is a contributor in the book, has just released her anthology through Black Ink, which is called We've Got This. That was out last week. And it's an anthology for parents, by parents with disability. And there's a few of the people in the book that were also in growing up disabled. So that's been really exciting to see. Do you have anything more to add, Todd, about the success of the book? Oh, has Todd dropped off? No, he's back.
You're on mute, Todd. You might need to unmute.
No, sorry, I got bitten off. One bit in technology.
I asked if you've got anything more to add about the success of the book.
Oh, I just think, as I said before, it's a wonderful opportunity for voices to get heard and different perspectives, because like every individual, regardless of disability, every disability is different. So it's going to affect people in different ways.
Absolutely. I think there was I was talking with Eliza last year at the Castlemaine State Festival, and I think her and Andy Jackson and Elle Gibbs, they kind of all began in the same way, like they never needed fixing. And it was just really amazing to see this kind of shared experience. And I think, you know, their way of writing mirrored each other's. So.